A crazy entitled mutual friend has been acting insane lately as he's become obsessed with me and is now claiming on Instagram that we are in a relationship. And right now, this is all making me extremely nervous. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I've never met this guy before, but a few months ago, he followed me on Instagram. I saw that we had 10 mutual friends, so I followed back, not thinking much of it. I always follow people back if we have mutual friends, so I didn't even ask my friends who he was, and I honestly just kind of forgot about it. Fast forward a few weeks, and I post a selfie and this guy likes it. Then he messages me and compliments me. Now, I was polite and I said thank you, but I did not initiate any other conversation. I guess in an effort to continue the conversation, he asked me a few questions about my dog, with whom I've posted pictures of on my account, and I answered his questions because I thought they were harmless. What followed were a dozen unanswered messages of him introducing himself, talking about himself, and him saying other things that were really creepy. He would say to me, "You're gorgeous, you're such a princess, baby girl, oh yeah." Now, I read them all, but I didn't answer because I was really weirded out. I asked my friends who he was, and they said he wasn't local. A few of them had met him at an event once when he was here, but none were actually close friends with him and didn't know too much about him. I figured not answering would make him go away since he could see that I read the messages, but it just encouraged him to continue. In the days following the initial messages, he sent similar messages about my appearance and how I have the sweetest personality, which I found odd since I had barely responded to him and he literally did not know me. He then replied to every single Instagram story highlight that I had, and we're talking like over 60 replies. So after that, I blocked him from seeing any future stories. He then messaged me daily, saying things like, "How's my dog doing? How's my boy doing today?" Now, these are the few times I responded because I was like, what is going on? He is my dog, not yours. You literally don't even know him. Now, my friends thought this was all just awkward, but overall pretty harmless since the messages weren't explicit or anything like that. So I felt bad fully blocking him. I figured my obvious disinterest would make him stop eventually, but the messages continued. And instead of reading them and not responding, I just didn't open them. This worked for a bit, but then he realized I was ignoring him and asked what he did wrong. I showed my other friends the messages, and my one guy friend was really concerned. He suggested that we post a selfie together just to make me look unavailable. So I unblocked the guy from my stories just so he could see it. Well, that didn't help, and it just made him escalate the number of messages that he was sending. He got angry and possessive, was saying things like, "I better not be sleeping with that guy," and basically saying really awful things to my friend. And I wasn't gonna ask my friend to do anything else since he does have a girlfriend. At this point, I just decided to be honest and tell him that his messages made me extremely uncomfortable, especially the possessive ones and the ones about my dog, since we literally don't even know each other. He apologized and then said I should come visit him, that he would pay for my flight, and that it would be a dream to hang out. But I said I am definitely not interested in that or even in hanging out. But he said, "Oh, that's okay. I understand that you're shy." And then he said he would come to me instead. I told him I wasn't interested in hanging out with him anywhere in the world and that I'm not interested in him or whatever else he thinks is going on here. And after that, I just straight up blocked him. And I think that was my mistake. He started following me on a new account right after and sent me several messages apologizing. He also followed some of my family members that I had tagged in pictures on my Instagram. I blocked him and privated my Instagram, but then he would come back with another account. He also found my other social media accounts. My friends still had him on their Instagrams, and now they've been showing me that he keeps posting pictures of me, and he's even implying that I sent them to him personally. And he's doing this on his Instagram story and his post with comments about me being his girlfriend, and that he can't wait to come spend the summer with me, and also posting pictures of my dogs while captioning it by saying it's our boy. So he must have saved a bunch of pictures that I had posted. My friends keep messaging him, but he won't take anything down, and I feel so freaked out and embarrassed because our other mutual friends are asking me if it's all true. I know he doesn't know exactly where I live, but I still worry about him coming here. And he knows some of the concerts I'm supposed to be attending because my friends posted about them and tagged me. I guess I just don't know how to navigate this. Does anyone have any suggestions? I don't know what else I could possibly do because I have never been in this situation ever before. This is actually insane behavior. Like seriously, there is so many things wrong with what's going on right now, it's not even funny. First of all, I think it might be time to like report report this guy to the police and to tell your friends to unfollow this guy. This guy is literally following your every move, and he's even gone as far as becoming obsessed with you. Like, that is really scary behavior. Like, this guy's pretending that you're his girlfriend. Like, this guy's insane. So if I was in your shoes, I would not only report him to Instagram themselves, but I would also go to the police and be like, look, this thing is happening and it's honestly insane. Because what you're dealing with is not normal. This isn't some awkward or quirky thing that somebody's doing. This is literally somebody following your every move while also claiming you as his girlfriend. And you do not deserve that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for uninviting my brother-in-law from my son's graduation party, all because he is very vocal about disagreeing with my son's choice of college he's gonna go to? Here's what happened. Okay, so my son is graduating high school in 2 weeks. I personally had some turmoil at that age, so I didn't graduate and I had to get my GED a few years later, and I didn't go to college. So I am incredibly proud of him and all that he accomplished in school. He also got into an Ivy League college, which made me even more proud. Now, here's the problem. My wife and several family members, including her brother and father, all went to this same Ivy school. So my wife really pushed him to go there, and she did this at an unhealthy amount. She has always run a tight ship with his schooling over the years, while I've been a bit more lax, and said that if he is legitimately trying his hardest between school and extracurricular, as well as his social life, then all is okay, even if he struggles sometimes. Now that the payoff is here, my wife was insistent that he goes to this school. I've told him that he could go anywhere he wants and go into whatever field that he wants, or he could even take a gap year or go straight to work, basically making it clear that he can do whatever makes him happy. I mean, he got into an Ivy League school. He showed him he's good enough, so now we should let him follow his dreams. My son did 2 visits to this school and confided in me that he did not want to go there because of both the culture and he felt like the program he was interested in was better at another school. He was so scared to tell his mom to disappoint her, but the 3 of us sat down and talked about how he was feeling. Now, my wife was clearly disappointed, but accepted his decision. Although we did get into an argument about a week later about how he might regret this years from now. Once the news broke that he would not be going to the Ivy League school, my wife's family expressed their disagreement with the decision, but I laid down the law with how this was his choice and he's still going to an excellent school and he's pursuing his passion. So I will not tolerate anybody bothering him or telling him that he's making the wrong choice. Now, most did not put up much of a fight, but my wife's brother is being a real jerk about it. All 3 times that we've seen him in the past 2 months, ever since this all started, he has made comments to my son about how the Ivy League school is much better and all this other stuff. I yelled at him the last time when I saw it, and he just gave me this half-hearted apology. Well, like I said, his graduation is in 2 weeks, and his party with family and friends will be a few days after that. My son told me privately that he does not want his uncle to be there because he is uncomfortable around him and doesn't want to feel that way at his party. So I said, okay, no problem. I then texted my brother-in-law that he needs to sit the party out because he is making my son feel bad for his choices. And as you might be expecting, I am now under fire from my wife's family. Everyone's mad that I'm excluding him from celebrating my son's accomplishment and that my son can toughen up and whatnot. And my wife is mad that I went over her head. I felt like my wife would not be willing to cut out her brother, so I made the decision myself. I can't accept partial blame for going over her head, but I have no regrets otherwise. So honestly, am I the jerk in the situation? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, it's really a shame how the extended family is acting towards your son. They're trying to make it sound like, oh yeah, this is the worst decision you could ever make, and how he's gonna regret this years down the line. But in reality, like, is he really gonna regret going to the right college for the program he wants to go into? Like, if I was in that kid's shoes, I would want to go to the school that has the better program. And just because a school is Ivy League doesn't mean it's the best in the world at what it does. There very easily could be better programs at different colleges. And it sounds like the son in this story absolutely found exactly where they want to go. Like, why wouldn't people be more excited about that? Because it sounds like they just want him to go to the Ivy League school simply because it's an Ivy League school. Also, how is your wife not seeing that her brother's being really toxic to her son? He's making this big deal about him not going to this stupid school, and he's making things really awkward for this kid. Like, you would think she would back up her kid in this moment and be like, wait a second, okay, this is going just a little bit too far. And yes, I think you really should have had a conversation with your wife before uninviting the brother-in-law, but I personally think that you were completely justified justified to cut him off and tell him that he can't show up because of the way he was acting? Am I the jerk for telling my parents that they need to find an alternative solution for long-term care for my disabled siblings because I refuse to be that solution? Here's what happened. I'm a 19-year-old male and I have two older siblings who were both born with severe disabilities. Their disabilities are related to an inheritable gene that both my parents were carriers of, which is why the both of them have these disabilities. And they had me so that their disabled children would have someone to take care of them when they were gone. And it seriously was a gamble. I could have been disabled just like my siblings, and I had an even higher chance of also being a carrier of the gene. But my parents did not look into that. They initially planned to adopt, but they were rejected because of my siblings being disabled, and it was decided that they could not adequately care for another child on top of them. So they gave in and had me. Once they knew I wasn't disabled at birth, they no longer cared about my future because in their minds it was set in stone. I was raised to take over the care of both of my siblings. I was taught what to do, how to do it, and my parents interfered with my success. They'd pull me out of school enough times to cause trouble, but timed it just right to throw me off and leave me just a little bit behind at school. Their aim was for me to do badly enough to either drop out or not graduate high school, so then I wouldn't leave for college. But I worked my butt off as best as I could. My grades were not the best when I graduated, but they were the best that they could be given the circumstances. I actually only learned about my risk of being a carrier in my final 2 months of high school. My parents didn't care because they never planned for me to marry or have kids, because again, I was supposed to be a caregiver the rest of my life. Well, I moved out of my parents' house after high school and I'm in college now, and my parents absolutely hate it. I am mostly estranged and have not told them yet, but I got checked for the gene because I always wanted kids, but I knew I didn't want to risk having children with the same disabilities as my siblings. Well, I found out that I'm not a carrier, which is super rare but also such a relief, but it still made me more angry at my parents for not caring. They leave voicemails pretty frequently, shaming me for going to college and moving away and not supporting them or my siblings. They talked about how out of practice I will be, so I decided to call them, and over the phone I told them I was not coming back and that they need to find an alternative solution for long-term care for my siblings because I will not be that solution. I won't sacrifice the rest of my life to care for them. Well, my parents told me that was disgusting to say, and I should love my siblings more than enough to care for them, especially when they are the highest risk adults. So am I the jerk for saying what I did to my parents? Because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Your parents are insane for trying to set you up like that and force you to take care of your siblings like that. Like seriously, what is going on right now? They would intentionally pull you out of school just to make sure you're behind. They try to sabotage you ever going to college. And now when you finally call back and say, yeah, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, you're gonna have to figure that out. They try to guilt trip you and be like, wow, this is family. You have to help them. You should love your siblings. Like, yeah, I love them, but I don't love the way you treated me. The fact that they had a kid simply because they wanted a caregiver for the rest of the adult children's lives, like that is insane behavior, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, and I think if I was in your shoes, I would probably just completely block them. I would straight up move on with my life, and I would never allow them to have any room in my life ever again, because these people sound incredibly toxic. Am I the jerk for refusing to put up with my entitled sister's behavior any longer? Because after being treated so poorly for so many years, I've decided that enough is enough, and now I'm refusing to put up with her garbage for another second. Here's what happened. So both me and my sister are currently college students who are back at home for a few weeks until we can move into our respective summer places. Now, I dread having to be around her at all, as she can be fine over the phone, but in person, it's a completely different story. When we were children, she was diagnosed with a severe life-threatening illness and was pretty close to passing away. She spent a long time in the hospital, undergoing various treatments before being able to come home. I know this isn't her fault, but as she's gotten older, it's become clear that she has a sense of entitlement from it. Because she was my parents' youngest child and incredibly sick, she got and now gets anything she wanted. I mean, she even got my dad to buy her own car, despite her being the youngest out of all of their children. She gets new phones and technology whenever she asks for it. She gets her hair and nails and tanning all done whenever she wants, and it has to be with very specific people, otherwise it's a problem. She even calls herself the princess of our family, and this is very obvious to anyone who knows my family at all. What drives drives me crazy is that she seems to think that my stuff is her own. I have more than siblings than just her, and understand that siblings take care of each other's stuff all the time. But what I get upset about is the fact that my sister has no limits. If she likes it, it's hers, even if it was made for and gifted to me. I don't know if she just likes getting me upset, or if she actually just wants things she has no use for. But I genuinely think she just likes seeing me sad, because the more I think about it, the more I think it's true. She used to like screaming at me and berated me before my doctor's appointments over my eating disorders, all because she didn't want to drive me there and drop me off. Apparently, it was just too inconvenient for her. I really think seeing me cry makes her want to scream at me. Now, honestly, all of this is fine. It's kind of like whatever, you know? I always told myself that I'll move out and I won't have to deal with her, but this week has completely changed. Now, for reference, I'm a lesbian, and I'm in a relationship with this really awesome girl who I just adore, who also, by the way, cannot stand my sister. Now, my sister is a religious Christian and has never been directly homophobic to my face, but she does like to make jokes, especially if they include telling everyone that she can very loudly about how much of a lesbian I am. But this week, though, she decided that using a slur directly to my face would be funny. She refuses to talk to me most of the time, so I went to my mom and I told her that she needed to talk to my sister. I can handle a lot, but I feel as though I'm being pushed to my limit. My parents have apologized to me multiple times for my sister's behavior over the years and told me that they speak with her about everything, but they nor my sister ever seem to change, even when I can't get through the conversation without crying over how frustrated I am. But now I have decided to stop trying to be nice to my sister. Every time she decides to scream at me, tell me how awful I am, make her dumb jokes, or anything else that she does, she will not be met with her nice big sister anymore. I am done just sitting here silently and taking it. Unfortunately, my choice of words towards my sister has made my family quite angry with me. They tell me that I'm overreacting and that I just need to deal with her. We'll both be out of our parents' house soon, so I honestly need to know, am I the jerk for refusing to put up with my little sister any longer? Because right now I am so frustrated and I seriously don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk. Your sister's being obnoxious on purpose because she's been enabled her entire life to act this way. Her parents are basically like, no, don't be mad at her, you just gotta deal with it like the rest of us. That's what they're actually saying, because they've been conditioned to do the same thing. The only reason they don't want you to go against the grain is because that would cause problems for them. And it's so frustrating because you can see the truth right in front of you, but not only does your little sister know that she can get away with saying these awful things, but also everybody else around you is just gonna sit there and be like, wow, what's the problem here? Like, are you kidding me right now? The problem is the little sister acting like an idiot. And you know what? I think you have it right. You're gonna be out of there soon. But in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, you know what? I'm gonna stop being nice. Like, everybody has their limit. I don't care who you are. Everyone's got a point where they simply can't take it any longer. So in my opinion, I think the way you're going about doing this is perfect. This is exactly what I would do. If someone's gonna treat me like garbage repeatedly and always say these horrible things and treat me like I just don't matter, then you know what? I'm gonna believe that the way they're treating me really is how they feel about me, and I'm then gonna drop them out of my life completely. Because not you or anybody deserves to be treated that way, and you should not be expected to put up with her toxic behavior for another second. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, and I think your parents are idiots for basically encouraging this behavior, because this truly is completely unacceptable. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for getting mad at a battery store after they superglued my Pokemon game shut while also giving me the wrong battery? Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened a couple of years ago, and it honestly still makes my blood boil when I think about it. So I had 2 copies of Pokemon Ruby in Japanese, but both of them had dead batteries. So I go to a battery store that used to replace my batteries a decade ago for pretty cheap, and I went back for my 2 games, expecting around the same price, maybe just slightly higher of a price at around $5 a battery. Well, I speak to an employee, and he told me that they can replace the batteries, but they won't know the price. And so I thought, okay, no problem, it shouldn't be that much, right? So I hand them the games. And almost a week later, I had a friend pick it up for me while I was at work, and that's when I found out that it was for $40. I was very shocked and angry, but I thought to myself, okay, whatever, deciding to just go ahead and pay for it. After my friend dropped the games off to me at work, she said they glued the game shut since they couldn't properly seal it, and I was floored. I was so livid that they would glue my game shut. So I later called them asking why they would glue my games, and they explained complained that they couldn't seal it. So I asked to speak to a manager because of how incredibly disrespectful they were to glue my property shut. I spoke to a manager and we eventually hung up, and I waited a couple of days to hear back. Now, my other friend said he had some glue gone to remove the glue, and after he removed it, he noted they put the wrong battery in. I told the guy the specific battery that they needed, and they ended up putting in a slightly bigger battery. A couple days later, I called back, and I started going off on the manager because I felt like I needed to assert myself, and the manager just told me to calm down and that he was talking to me calmly, so I forced myself to calm down. I told him point blank, they put the wrong battery in, and that's why it wouldn't shut, and it was disrespectful that they superglued my games. They offered to replace it with a proper battery or give me a refund, and I asked for a refund because I didn't want them touching my games ever again. So after I called corporate, I was eventually issued a refund and got to keep the battery. The good part about this whole ordeal is that a friend of a friend was able to lower the battery more and told me that it is a longer lasting battery, and now the game shuts better. I was told that I should write a review, but I decided not to, but part of me really wants to. With this whole ordeal out of the way, I will never again go to that battery store to replace batteries ever again, because that place clearly does not know what they're doing. Yeah, that's really unfortunate that they basically destroyed your game. Like, first of all, you don't even have the right battery fitting into the compartment, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure that's very obvious that it won't fit in there properly, but also they decide to put glue in the cartridge just to close it. Like, seriously, that's so uncalled for. Isn't there like a very specific screw that goes in and out the back of it? Why on earth would they put glue in there? Or better yet, why didn't they just call the client and be like, sorry, we can't fix this? Glue is literally just gonna make it all worse. So seriously, good for you for getting a refund, because these people very clearly did not know what they were doing. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.